as an adult who has regrets, and to listen to not just some fictional princess trying to save the land, but an actual woman who has regrets, like I have regrets, and just how regrets affect your life. It made me think about my life, whereas YA fantasy doesn't really do that. And it's just so different for us, who Ashley and I Ashley said we read, I would say 90% of what we read is YA fantasy.
Yeah, we're definitely branching out now.
Yeah.
We're branching out.
So this was just so different for me, and I was just like, I don't know how I feel about this. I'm not ready. Like, I didn't read the synopsis for this book. I didn't know what it was about.
Me neither.
And I'm like, oh God, I'm not ready for this book. This is too heavy for me.
Welcome to the Novel Universe with your hostesses Ashley and Dawn. We rate and review the newest and most buzzworthy books. We are true book club girls who don't always agree, but do enjoy a good book discussion. I'm Ashley, the fantasy architect.
And I'm Dawn, the criticizer of books.
Grab your favorite beverage and come and enjoy our universe.
Okay. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Novel Universe with your hostesses Ashley and Dawn, and we are together for the first time in a very long time.
Over a year
Since we started this
March
podcast. Oh, okay. So for today we are talking about The Midnight Library by Matthew Haig. It has been a huge book in the book world, like massive. It won Goodreads choice fiction, right?
I don't
choice
trust
fiction
Goodreads though. Just because Goodreads says it's good, don't mean it's good.
And it also is on the New York Times best-selling list, and I guess it's still like ranking at like 16 or something. It's like relatively high still, which is abnormal. So we're like, we need to read this book and see what this book is all about. So we read it, and you're about to hear what this book is about. So if you are new joining our podcast, Dawn and I usually start off our podcast with the synopsis, our likes and dislikes that are all spoiler free, and then we will let you know in the show notes when we are going to spoil it. So if you haven't read this book, you won't, completely lose all hope in what's happening. Lose all hope in what's happening. If you also are interested, you can follow us on Instagram, Novel Universe Pod, and we also sometimes post things to YouTube, Novel Universe. So, without further ado, Matthew Haig and the Midnight Library. So, let's see here. Between life and death, there is a library, and within the library, the shelves go on forever. Every book provides a chance to try another life that you can live. To see how things would be if you made other choices, would you have done anything different if you had the chance to undo the regrets? A dazzling novel all about choices that go into a life well lived, from the internationally best-selling author of Reasons to Stay Alive and How to Stop Time. Somewhere beyond the edge of the universe, there is a library that contains an infinite number of books, and each one the story of another reality. One tells the story of your life as it is, along with another book for the other life you could have lived if you made a different choice at any point in your life. So, in The Midnight Library, Matthew Haig's enchanting new novel, Nora Seeds finds herself faced with this decision. Faced with the possibility of changing her life for a new one, following a different career, undoing old breakups, realizing her dreams of becoming a glaciologist, she must search within herself as she travels through the Midnight Library to decide what is truly fulfilling in life and what makes it worth living in the first place.
Okay.
So, that's a lot.
That was a lot.
And
it wasn't until the last paragraph where we heard her name.
We finally heard her
main character's name.
Okay, so without further ado, what are our ratings, Dawn?
I gave it a 4.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. I gave it a 4. I couldn't quite give it a 5, which we'll probably discuss why later. I had a hard time reading this book because originally I thought about giving it 3.5. But I think I liked things a little bit more than I thought, so I ended up giving it a 4.
Yeah. I was going to give it higher, and then some things happened that made me give it lower. And, of course, I will say what those things were. But I was expected to be blown away. and that was it. Not that it's bad. It's not bad.
No, it's definitely not bad. We have read bad.
Yes.
We are the queens of bad.
But I was not like, I don't know, for some reason, this is going to sound really bad, but for some reason, when I read adult, I just assume that I'm just going to be blown away because it's an adult book.
Too.
And I'm not. So I'm like,
it's going to be
why
great.
are all these people bitching about YA? Because adult ain't always great. So
there's plot holes, there are narration issues, characters underdeveloped, you name it. It happens in every single realm of books that we have read. But I always think it too, because I feel like adult books are supposed to be like way more advanced beyond our years.
Yeah.
So we should be given better, like J.R. Tolkien or, you know, George Martin or something like some sort of intense book. And lots of times that's not what happens.
No.
So, okay, going into our dislikes.
Who's first?
Should I start?
Yeah.
I did not like our main character, Nora.
Oh no.
Oh
Why?
no. Oh no. She was very blasé for me in a lot of ways. And it wasn't so much more in the beginning of the book. It was more towards the middle of the book where we're like really trying to figure out what her decision is going to be within this library. So basically, you know, she finds herself in that in-between space, right, where she we don't know what has happened to her, but it's assumed that she's, you know, tried to kill herself, and somehow she ends up in the library and is faced with all these different decisions. And I was like, oh wow, she's gonna be like this really great character and have like a bunch of growth. And I felt like when she was trying out all of her different lives that she could have led, some of them I felt like I was still getting the same Nora in them.
Okay.
As I was presented with. So when I say blah, it was not like she was a different person in each life. She was still herself. So, yeah, for me that was one of my...
I didn't have that as a dislike, but I see what you're coming from. I see what you're saying. She wasn't a big personality, and actually there were moments where she would be really snarky, and I was like, that doesn't seem like that would be someone who's so, I don't want to say depressed, but I don't know. Yeah. I didn't have that, but I see what you're saying. Okay, so my major dislike is usually when you read any book, and I went to an author visit from Ruta Sepetys, and she said that the reader gets whatever they can get out of the book. It's not up to the author to tell you what to get out of the book. It's up to you to get whatever you get, and everyone is going to get something different, and everyone's correct.
Yep.
But in a book like this, I'm like, okay, well, Matt Haig definitely has something to say, and he's going to tell me what the point of the book is. And I'm waiting for it, and it just seemed to be like a lot going on.
Yeah. And
I kept waiting for it to be a little bit more cohesive. Finally, at the end, he does say what his point is, but by then I had already dropped it to a 4.
Yeah, me too.
So that was my problem. It was just too much going on. It lacked focus, just a little bit. At the end, it was fine, but it did lack a little focus for me. So
yeah,
that's why it was not a 4.5.
I can totally agree, because I was waiting for that big moment, because Matt Haig is known for his nonfiction books. Like, he's a nonfiction writer. So when I was watching someone else kind of give their debriefing on how disappointed they were in him because his fiction work is not nearly as good as his nonfiction work, and it's always like a deep philosophical like thinking and like something you're gonna get from this book or whatever. And they were like, it just didn't happen. So they felt as though, you know, he had an editor or something like that was like, your name is really huge, like we can push this book out, let's do it, and yada yada yada. And so they were just griping about, you know, how disappointed they were.
Listen to the same booktuber.
Is that the guy you listened to him too? Yeah.
He had glasses. Like,
he did.
Yeah.
He did.
Yeah.
He did. I was like, interesting. Like, but I could almost agree with him, even though I haven't read any of Matt's other books. I could see where he was coming from, because some of my issues with the book resonated with some of the things that he had to say. And they're not like really big things either.
It's like 3 dislikes, which is a first for Dawn, because usually my dislikes is a page and a half.
That's very true. That's very true. No, mine are right here. It's just right here. It's okay. It's okay. Okay, so another issue I have with this book is you already know how this book is going to end, like somewhat. You know that it's very clear once we start going into the library how some things are going to fall in place. And it's all about the journey to get there all along, the route that we take. So that part I was kind of like, because on Nora's journey to find who she is as a person, I mean, she's a 35-year-old woman that has just lost out in life. Like, everything just sucks. She's just not made it big for herself. She's didn't say yes to this guy, and this with her mom, and this with her dad, yada yada, all these things. And all of the secondary characters that they put in this book to help her journey, I feel like it just, I don't know, it just kind of fizzles out a little bit. That's my opinion on that.
I didn't have that either. Usually, I keep saying I didn't have that, but usually Ashley and I have the same dislikes. And so when we don't, it's a shocker.
I know, but I want to talk about it.
I am gonna disagree. I don't think that the secondary characters fizzled out. I think they served a purpose, and I'm gonna say in my likes.
Okay.
So my other dislike is, like, I don't suffer from a mental illness, and I've never been to therapy or anything like that. But, and considering that this man writes nonfiction, I feel like Nora's ending was a little bit too happily ever after, and she didn't go to any therapy.
Indeed.
So I feel now this, maybe of course he wrote it like that on purpose. It's his book. He knows what he's doing. And maybe it was meant to be a fairy tale type of a story, and not a, now she gets all back on her meds and then she goes to go to a therapist 3 times a week or something. Sure, I can accept that. But, and if that's the case, then this is not the type of book that people should be going to for advice.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people do. They go to fiction books and see themselves in characters and emulate what the character does, instead of asking a real person. They will seek out a book. Teens do it all the time. Teen librarian. And there are some books that I will not recommend to a teen because the message is not going to benefit them. It's just a fairy tale message. It's not a, especially when the topic is like sexual assault, and the main character just like finds the sexual assaulter, and then everyone's happily ever after. It's like, no, I'm not going to give that book to a teen. And if I do, I'm going to be like, this ending is not, maybe I won't say anything, but usually when teens come to me and they say, I want a book about abuse, I'm not going to give them the book with the fairy tale ending. I'm going to give them the book with the realistic ending. So,
yeah. No, I agree, because this book touches a lot on, your regrets and what happens when you've reached the end of your tether, basically. And the concept of the Midnight Library is, in fact, a fairy tale. Like, it's like, that's not, in my opinion, it's a fairy tale. It's that place of second chance that I think we as humans try to adapt, like, into our brains, and hope that maybe when we've reached the end of our line that we would kind of get a shot at a second chance. But it's like, but does that really happen? I don't know. I had some issues with this book, and this is just a tiny, I'm going into nitpicks, like, in my little list here. It's nitpicking time. I had some issues with the narration of this book. I was listening to some of it, and a lot of the dialogue felt like it kind of just meshed together, especially when it was two different characters, like this character's talking and then this character's talking, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh wait, did that actually happen? Oh no, she was thinking it. But it was very confusing to listen to it, because I was like, wait, what? Did she say that? Did she not say that? Was she in her head? I don't know. But yet again, it's also a character who is struggling with, depression and suicidal thoughts. So that might have also been the tone of the book. I don't know.
I listened to it as well. I thought Carey Mulligan did an awesome job.
Yes, she did.
And that was actually one of my likes.
Mm-hmm.
But usually when a woman narrates, they kind of change their voice a little bit for different characters. She was just like, I'm famous, I don't gotta do that. And she didn't.
she really didn't. I was like, who is this person talking? I don't know. So
and I did not have a book in front of me.
No.
And I wanted a book because some of the chapters were short. Yes. And I'm like, how does it look on the page? I'm not quite sure. She didn't say chapter 1, chapter 2. She just went into the... So I'm like, oh, so I really wanted to look at the book just to kind of see the formatting. I never got to, but...
Mm-hmm. I know.
I don't have any nitpicks. I'm done.
Oh!
I know.
Okay.
Shocker.
One of my other ones is I want to know what happened to a certain someone.
Okay.
It was kind of just fizzled out, and I can't really say it because it's kind of a spoiler, but that's one of my other little nitpicks. I was kind of like, wait a minute, did that happen? No. Yeah. Okay. Going into likes. Here we go. Okay. We just say how quotable this book is.
Oh yeah, that's my first one. That's my first
Are you serious?
Quotes. Well, I mean, it has a lot of philosophers in it. It's going to be quotey. I mean, it can't help but to be quotey.
I know, but it wasn't redundant. That was the nice thing about this book, is that I didn't feel like I heard that quote already in a previous chapter, because you're talking to someone who has, like, she went to school for philosophy. Mm-hmm. So she's rather intelligent with how she views life and stuff like that. So I was like, this book, I was walking my dog listening to this book, and there was one life that she was in, and she had said the quote about regrets, and I'm gonna say it because it's so good. She says, regrets don't leave, they're like mosquito bites that always itch. And I was like,
that's a good one.
Oh my goodness, like, it just kind of like struck me, and I was like, that's genius. It's so true though, because she's presented into this library, right? And her guide is her old school librarian, the one person that was there for her in a crisis moment or whatever. And she presents her with the book of regrets, and it's like, the whole entire thing is, if you could change even just the smallest regret, your whole entire life would be different. Mm-hmm. And then that quote pops out, and I was like, yep, totally get it. Yeah. Totally get it.
Didn't have that one, but
let's hear yours.
I had, sadness is intrinsically part of the fabric of happiness. You can't have one without the other. Mm-hmm. And sometimes saying your truth out loud is enough to find others like you, which I thought was really good.
Yes.
And this one is not really a quote as much as it was a moment in the book. And in this moment, she does the regret where she says yes to Dan. She marries Dan.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And in their marriage, she said, or the narrator said, she had shrunk for him, but he still hadn't found the space he needed, which I thought was what a lot of people do. They shrink themselves for people, and it's still not good enough.
Exactly.
I thought that was just like the perfect description for Dan. So I like that one.
Oh, I love that so much. I just love that, like, you could say so many words in just a single sentence with this book. So good.
Yeah.
So good.
Not a lot of authors can do that.
No.
Which we know well. 600-page books. For no reason.
3 pages just to describe a wall. No, thank you. I don't need it. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. So Mrs. Elm, which was her guardian, if you will, I just loved her so much. I loved the fact that, you know, she didn't really give her a yes or no answer as to which life was the best life for Nora to choose. And it was all a matter of, you may find many things in the different choices that you make in life, but you honestly have to figure out, you know, the best one that's going to fit who you are. You know, I really just liked the way that she spoke to her. I feel like that's probably why she was her guardian.
Yeah.
Of all things. Guardian is not a term used in the book. I'm just saying guardian because it's a lot more...
It describes
easier to figure out who that is.
I like the idea. I have never read anything like this before. I don't think I have. Where you're kind of in limbo, and then no, I haven't. Where, and it could just be because I read a lot of YA, where you're in this limbo and you can go back and change some of the mistakes, or not mistakes, but your regrets, not regrets, not in quotes, but regrets that you made. So anytime I read a book where I have not read the plot before, I'm automatically on board. I'm like, yes, I've never read this before. Let's go. It automatically jumps up stars. So I did really like the idea of it.
Oh, I love the idea of this book. There are some books that we read, because Dawn and I read quite a bit, that you're just like, this is gonna be bad. This is gonna be so bad. You know, and you can... I feel like if a story doesn't grab you in the first, like, 30 pages... 50 pages is kind of like my next mark, and then if we've reached 100, it's like, this is
I was gonna say good. The first 30 pages of the book were depressing, but the fact that it starts off with like 9 days before I die or before I kill myself, I was like, oh wow, okay. Or so that,
oh yeah, sorry,
whatever she said, 9 days or whatever the day was, you know, immediately she's going to kill herself, and then as you read, you're like, wow, this woman's life sucks.
It's so bad. She reminds me of Mr. Heckles from Friends, the old guy that's got the broom in his hand. Like, just, these are all of my qualms with the world, and it all sucks, and there you go. Mind you, he doesn't just kill, he doesn't kill himself, but anyway. Yeah, I really liked this book because I was automatically transformed into a different world. And like Dawn and I read a lot of fantasy related, we read a lot of YA books, and it was kind of nice just to be immersed in like London, England area, you know, like it's a real place that she was in. Belshire or whatever, it's something like that, starts with a B. I loved that we got to see different lives that Nora could choose. The good, the bad, and the ugly, like, style of lives. And, you know, all the things that you wish for if you had a second chance in life and how it would play out. Because I think the whole entire premise of this book, or at least one of them, is that one decision affects a chain reaction into every single thing that you do in your life. So you might decide, well, I'm going to go to McDonald's today instead of Burger King, and that choice right there automatically sends you down a different path. So it was like these endless possibilities of how she could lead her life, and I really liked that. It wasn't just like, oh, if you would have done this, then this would have happened.
I had that too. But I liked how they kind of used chess as a metaphor, and that she kept feeling like a pawn, Nora kept feeling like a pawn, but Mrs. what was her name? Elm. Told her that pawns are powerful because there are so many possibilities and moves that pawns can make in a game, and it can affect the outcome of the game. And that chess has, after the first move, I don't know how many different possibilities there are to this game, but the number was huge.
Yeah.
All the different ways one could win the game. And then she also said that, I don't know if it was Mrs. Elm, but she said that you can learn how to play chess, but you'll never master it. Like, no one masters it, meaning you can't master life.
Yeah.
So I did like the chess metaphor.
There were lots of metaphors in this book. It was just... It was nothing like I've read before, which I really enjoyed that about this book. So that's all I had for my likes without spoiling anything.
I did like when she had this huge book of regrets and she's just listing all of these regrets and it's just like weighing her down. That really did. I'm like driving the car and I'm like, oh God, just like listening to her list like on and on and on, it weighed me down as the reader. And I like about this book, once again, we read a lot of YA. It's relatable, but not so much as an adult. I can relate to YA when I was a teenager, most of the time. But for this book, he doesn't really do that. And this is just, it's just so different for us, who Ashley and I said we read, I would say 90% of what we read is YA fantasy.
Yeah, we're definitely branching out now.
Yeah.
We're branching out.
So this was just so different for me, and I was just like, I don't know how I feel about this. I'm not ready. Like, I didn't read the synopsis for this book. I didn't know what it was about.
Me neither.
And I'm like, oh God, I'm not ready for this book. This is too heavy for me.
I know that one, there's one scene that she's like presented in and you're just like, oh my goodness, if you were to sit in your own mind and go through and list out everything that you wish you wouldn't have done, oh my goodness, you want to talk about depression and anxiety? Like, you could get a panic attack just thinking about it, I feel like.
Yeah. And some of the life choices are even like small. So like one choice would be, if I had not applied for the library, I would have never met Alyssa or Elise, and we would not be sitting here because I would not have met you.
Oh yeah.
Through them and through book club. Just that one decision. If I had not applied for a part-time job at the library, I wouldn't know Ashley. So just like tiny decisions you make in your life, and that's what this book does. It just really makes you look at your life and all the decisions you made and all the things that occurred because of the decisions and all the regrets you made, and what if I could go back and do something about those regrets based on this book. I don't want to, but, but what if I could?
You don't want to, almost, because it's just like we said, like that one decision alters everything. I think about like with my one regret, like if I wouldn't have gotten married at the age that I did, my dad wouldn't have been able to see me walk down the aisle. Like literally 1 year later, he was gone. So it's like, and when you have all these little things happening, you're just like, oh, if that didn't happen, then it would have played out totally differently, or even in book club relations, if I wouldn't have gone to book club, I wouldn't have met you. Or gotten deeper with any of our other friends. It's true. It's true. If we're being honest, just making that one choice. So, do you have any more other ones?
That's all I had for likes.
So, all in all, for our spoiler-free edition, this was a really good book. Yeah. I would definitely relate it to someone else to read.
Yeah. I totally recommend it to everybody.
It's worth it. It's definitely worth the read. Honestly, I think what you get out of it is going to be different just based on your own experiences and your own regrets and just how you choose to lead your life. But I want to leave with this quote before we move to spoilers. If you aim to be something you are not, you will always fail. Aim to be you and the truest version of you. As from the book, man, it is really good. So if you like what you hear, please go and have a listen to all of our other podcasts, and you can get notifications as to when we posted another one, so you can download them anywhere you get your podcasts from. And until next time, we'll catch you in the next podcast. But if you're hanging around for our next little segment, we're going to spoil and talk about some things in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That was in sync, man. Oh my goodness, we gotta do it again.
You have to do it like Janet Jackson. She does it in Rhythm Nation. It's like this. It's like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I was like having a problem.
She switches her fingers when she does.
Oh, I can't do that. Okay. Whew.
All right.
So
give me
to drink time. We'd be really classy if we had some fresh beverages here. Okay, so where should we start with it?
Well, let's see. Which was your favorite life
Ooh. Okay, my favorite life, because I did think about that. I was going to ask you that question. It was written down.
We have that.
I was going to ask you that question. Okay, my favorite life would have to have been if she chose to marry Ash. And I say this because, so Ash is like, you know, the doctor that she skipped on having coffee with or whatever. And in this life, she says yes to that coffee date. And that coffee date leads to her just being genuinely happy. She's able to do a lot of the things that she likes. And I think the most interesting thing is that with her connection to her daughter. So she has a daughter that she has yet to meet. And she's not married. She's not with anybody. Like, she's not anywhere close to being with child at all. And so I found that interesting. Like, if you were to have met your child, if you would have made a choice doing something, it was like that particular child had such an impact on her life. And I think it's because I think her daughter reminded her more of herself and what it was like to be happy and not to be expected to be this amazing thing, because she had a lot of regrets from her dad, like putting a lot of pressure on her in life about her swimming career and all this other stuff, and her brother like just not enjoying her because she felt like he was upset with her for not, you know, doing the band and like all this other stuff. I don't know. I felt like she was genuinely happy in that life.
Yeah.
Like,
she was. But then I think she left it because she said she felt like she was an outsider looking in, that it truly wasn't her life.
Because she hadn't made the decisions, like, conscious for herself yet. I think especially, like, because she was, like, feeling, like, her C-section incision, and she was, like, so she's living this life that she doesn't actually remember being present for. So it was like she's had all of these achievements that she hasn't really gained as herself. It was just a choice.
Okay.
So that, I don't know, that I liked the fact that that's why she left the life, is because she could never have been truly happy because she was like living in someone else's like blessings, I guess is the best way to put that.
I was like, if this man author makes her stay in this life because she found a man, this book is gonna get a freaking 2.
Oh, I know, me too.
I was
me
like,
too.
Thank God she didn't stay, because I was about to be pissed.
Yes.
If she had to stay because she found a man.
I was really hoping.
I like that life, but I was like, please.
But I get it.
Please.
I get it though, because that was the longest life that she led though, was that one. But still, it was like, oh man, if this is how this is going to, and I'm going to be kind of disappointed because I really didn't want, I don't know, I didn't want her just to settle like that. Mm-hmm. I wanted her to fight for her life.
Yeah.
That's the best way to put it.
So surprisingly, my favorite one was Dan. The first one she did, because I found that one to be the most interesting one, because, you know, at the beginning of the book, he's like calling her and saying he missed her and he wished they could be together, and she's like, maybe I should have married him. Mm-hmm. And she was like, he was a great guy and blah blah blah. And then when we see their marriage, he's a douche.
Yes, he is. He's awful.
He's horrible.
He is awful.
Quote I did at the non-spoiler, where he was just never going to accept her, whatever she did. He was not the reason, but he put it in her head to not be in the band because she would have been better than him. Just like all these little things that he did to affect her life and her other regrets. And I liked it because she seems kind of meek, and I think she was just like, well, I thought he did that because he loved me, and she didn't really say anything. But when she lived this first life, she like clapped back at him. She was like, no, I'm not gonna take this from you. And she like fought for herself, and I felt like she kind of grew in that very first life in the beginning. So I just thought I really liked his character because he was so douchey. Oh my god. And I was just like, oh my god, he's the reason why she left the band ultimately. Yeah. Well, it was her too, but he influenced her, and just all this stuff he did. I was just like, wow.
He influenced her so much that Dan is a repetitive character in a lot of her lives. Like, she can't leave this old trash bag behind. Like, he's still hanging on. You know, like toilet paper on your shoe or something like that. But I do agree though. Like so Nora had growth like a lot in the beginning of this book, I feel like. Because like that was one of her first lives that she led differently. And I was like, oh, this is a big moment for a character to all of a sudden like have this much growth. 100%. But okay, so Miss Elm, that whole connection with her, I liked that she tried to find her in real life, to see her, to like thank her. So like after this whole library thing and everything like that, and doesn't the library cease to exist, right? Like it goes up in flames or something like that, because she makes a decision as to how she's going to lead her life. And Miss Elm has like no recollection that she was like guiding her in any way, shape, or form. And I feel like that was such a growth for her character at the end, because she realizes that her choices impact not just her but other people's lives as well. And so it's like, even though she wasn't gaining anything from this, Miss Elm was gaining something from her. So I don't know, I just really liked her, and I liked that she didn't like hold her hand either. Like she's like, it's kind of up to you, I'm not going to tell you which book to choose. So I really liked her.
Along those lines, I was looking at some booktube, and some people didn't like the It's a Wonderful Life aspect of the book,
or Christmas Carol aspect of this book,
which I did like. I actually liked that.
I did like it too.
I liked seeing how her old neighbor was sent to a rest home because she wasn't there to give him his pills. The boy she taught piano to, because she wasn't there to teach him piano, he had a life of crime. Like all these things that she ultimately she wanted to commit suicide because she felt like she didn't matter, and she didn't impact anything, but she really did. And even though it is very cheesy, I liked that cheese.
Yeah, but at the same time though, it's like things that are prevalent in her life right now. It's not like she went down the road and she achieved all these things. Like she made a decision to help the people that were already in her immediate circle, which I think was so huge with it. But it's like at the same time, I liked that cheese too. I really did. I didn't mind it. I didn't mind it because it was in a story that I hadn't read before.
Yeah.
And I liked that she didn't like just slide into another Nora story. That was my one. That's the reason why I didn't drop my rating, is because she didn't stay in a story. I think if she would have stayed in another life, I would have dropped my rating.
I agree.
Because that's just a cheap cop-out way to go. It really is. And that's what Mrs. Elm was trying to tell her. Like, you might think you found the perfect life, but in that life is going to come with other struggles and decisions that you have to make.
Yep.
You know, so I really liked that. Okay, I want to know what happened to the other slider dude. What is his name? Jean-Claude? What? Jacques?
He was French. I know.
Jacques.
Yeah.
What is his name? Jean?
I don't know.
What happened to him?
I don't think we were supposed to know. But I did like that. So I wrote this down in my likes, where she had sex with him and it was bad and she just like left.
It was bad. I don't want to stay here anymore. She's like, I don't know if this is bad or not, but it kind of felt like nothing. Maybe he's a master at sex because he's had it so many times.
She says, I may not have been sure about what interests me, but I absolutely was sure about what didn't. And she just went back to the library. I was like, well, damn. Okay.
But I still want to know what happened to him. So he's been doing it for like...
long time.
And they never say exactly how. Is it like 300 something?
I think it was like 300 years.
So it's like, where's his body?
I think his whole point is Nora figured it out.
Yeah.
She figured it out. She didn't want to die. She got herself to the hospital by way of her neighbor. Whereas this guy is not figuring it out.
Yeah.
So he's just constantly in limbo. I think that's what we were supposed to get.
So he's just buried in a breathable coffin or something?
He's just continuing to live regrets. just constantly with regrets until he figures it out, which I don't think he would.
I don't think so either. I think he's gotten too used to sliding into other lives. Like, maybe that's a good metaphor with, like, if you can't really decide how you're going to lead your life, and you just constantly take the easy way out and just say, I don't want it anymore.
I couldn't put this in my spoilers because, and this goes with in the non-spoiler, when you were like, some of the characters were not fleshed out.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So, I like that her initial regrets were based on people that that were upset with her. It wasn't her regret. It wasn't her regret. It was, I didn't stay in the band and Ravi hates me. So I'm going to go and see what happens. I quit swimming and my dad was mad. So I'm going to see what happens. I didn't become a glacier, and the only reason why I wanted to is because Mrs. Elm said, hey, this is cool. So I'm going to see. So all these regrets she was living was because of somebody else. And I like the message of, we can't weigh ourselves down by other people's regrets. So that's why I felt like their characters weren't fleshed out, because they were there for a reason.
Okay.
Like, Ravi was pissed at her about her not staying in the band, and then when she went, and it was his regret, not hers. It was, you know, she did quit a lot, but he was upset with her. It wasn't that she was upset with herself for that quitting. So that's why I didn't feel like the characters were not fleshed out.
See, and I agree with you. I do agree that that's probably like what the reason was. It was just hard because like we were introduced to all these people to kind of help guide her along, and then they just no longer existed, except for her brother. I think the most like one of the most touching stories of hers was like to go back before her dad died, and like that moment where she hears him on the phone, because I've lost my dad, so it was like, would I want to go relive him being alive to then to have to say goodbye to him? I was like, that's I don't know if I would say yes, because I feel like our brains have already, like, you know, you bandage up a situation and you move forward, so it's kind of, you know, guided you to something else. Let's see. I liked the fact that with that she had no prior memory going into each story. She was starting it anew. And it was the longer she was in each life, she would start to regain memory as to what could have happened, and her brain would like piece it together based on the information she gave. And I was like, that's rather interesting that the human brain would just all of a sudden create a story. Like, based on a few facts, you are able to kind of get a general story as to how everything is.
Yeah.
I liked it. Anything else?
I do not.
Yeah. I really liked the ending, and I liked the ending because she had to face her regrets and start fresh. I really liked that whole entire concept, and the fact that, you know, she wasn't just in a happily ever relationship. She had to figure her life out, and it just took one step at a time in a positive direction. So I like that.
And then maybe she was gonna accept Ash's coffee offer, or maybe not.
Or maybe not. Or maybe she went and she decided to be in a band. That was so funny.
Maybe.
She was famous a lot in a lot of her like past lives. Like, she was a famous swimmer, she was a famous guitarist, and she was a famous glaciologist, or whatever that's called.
Yeah.
I was like, oh wow, you would have made a name for yourself in some of these big ticket careers.
Yeah. But even her life with Ash, she was what was she?
She was a teacher, and then she decided to take a sabbatical to write a book.
Yeah.
So
she was successful in every one of the regretted lives.
I like that she led like the simple life, like what a super simple life would look like. So I like that we got like the super high and the super lows. Anyway, if you have not read Matt Haig's newest book, The Midnight Library, you need to check it out.
Yeah.
Do you think it's gonna be on your top 10 for the year?
The way it's going now, yeah, because I've read some crap.
It sounds good. Oh, and then I have to ask you this question because I saw someone else do this about how they were books as hyped up as they had planned out to be. Is it no, a little bit, a lot of it, or yes? Do you think this book had too much hype?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
a lot of it.
I didn't read the other fiction books on the good. Once again, Goodreads is stupid. I don't go by that. But
yeah, it was hyped
it was
up.
Good. Is it? I didn't give it a 5, so it didn't blow me away.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think it was hyped.
Not way up your hype, but maybe like a little bit under. I see the appeal. I see why people liked it. But is it like, oh, no.
But thank you so much for joining us, and we hope that you come back next time. We are going to be talking about another romance book, right? Is it romance?
Yeah, what's it called?
What's the title, Dawn?
Christina.
We will have it. Summer is like we're just deeming it our romance beachy reads because not a lot of good books come out in the summertime. So, see you, Dawn. Christina.
Soulmate Quotient, right?
The Soulmate Equation.
Equation.
Soulmate Equation by Christina Lauren. That is going to be our next book. So, until next time, we'll catch you in the next podcast.
Bye-bye.
Bye.